Let me begin by telling you that your consciousness is the only reality. Everything you perceive in your external world is nothing more than the outpicturing of your internal states. When I say 3 days, I speak not of terrestrial time, but of states of consciousness that you must pass through. The first day represents your awakening to the truth that your imagination creates reality. The second day is the Sabbath, where you rest in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. The third day is the resurrection, where your desire manifests in the external world. Consider the story in Scripture where Jesus said he would rebuild the temple in 3 days. The people thought he spoke of the physical temple, but he spoke of the temple of consciousness. You see, every desire you hold is already fulfilled in a dimension of consciousness, waiting for you to enter that state. Let me share with you the exact process. When you desire something, you must first know that it already exists in what I call the fourth dimension, the dimension of imagination. Your task is not to create it, for it already exists. Your task is to occupy the state of consciousness where this desire is already fulfilled. Now, many of you have tried visualization before, but you've done it from a place of wanting, of needing, of lacking. This is why it hasn't worked. You must visualize from a place of already having. This is the secret of the 3-day manifestation. The natural unfoldment of your manifestation during these 3 days operates according to what I call the law of least action. Your outer world will reorganize itself in the most natural and effortless way to match your inner assumption. But you must allow this reorganization without interfering with the how. Many of you try to dictate the manner in which your desire should manifest. This is a fundamental error. During these 3 days, your only concern should be maintaining the feeling of your wish fulfilled. The bridge of incidents, the series of events that will lead to your manifestation, will build itself. Think of a seed planted in the ground. It doesn't strain or struggle to become a tree. It doesn't try to push through the soil. It simply contains within itself the pattern of its full expression, and nature automatically provides the means for its growth. Your consciousness works in exactly the same way. During these 3 days, you must be like that seed, confident in the pattern of fulfillment that you contain within your consciousness. Your imaginal act, when properly performed with feeling and conviction, contains within itself everything needed for its manifestation. Let me share with you a principle that few understand. The state of consciousness that you assume during these 3 days must be maintained without effort. If you're straining to maintain your state, you're doing it wrong. When you truly assume a state, it feels natural and effortless. Consider how effortlessly you maintain the awareness of being who you currently believe yourself to be. You don't wake up each morning and struggle to remember your name or your current circumstances. This is the same naturalness you must feel in your new state. Your manifestation will often come in ways you could never have planned or anticipated. This is why trying to plan the how is not only unnecessary, but can actually delay your manifestation. Your role during these 3 days is to maintain the end, the state of fulfillment, and let the law handle the means. Maintaining the end state during these 3 days requires a complete abandonment of your former concept of self. You cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot claim to be wealthy while simultaneously budgeting from a consciousness of lack. You cannot claim perfect health while planning around illness. This is where the real test of your understanding comes in. During these 3 days, you must completely abandon the old man, as Scripture calls it. The old man represents your former concept of self with all its limitations and doubts. You must die to that self completely. Let me share with you a profound truth. Your outer world will present you with every reason to return to your former state of consciousness. Friends will remind you of your past. Circumstances will seem to contradict your new assumption. Your own senses will deny your imaginal act. But during these 3 days, you must be like Daniel in the lion's den, completely unmoved by appearances. Your inner conviction must be stronger than all external evidence. This is not denial. This is understanding the true cause and effect relationship between consciousness and reality. Remember, what you are seeing now in your world is the effect of past assumptions. It has no power to prevent the expression of your new assumption, except the power you give it through your attention and belief. During these 3 days, you must give your attention solely to your new state. Your inner conversations during this period are crucial. When you talk to yourself, and you do it constantly, from what state are you talking? Are you talking from the state of having your desire fulfilled? Or are you talking from the state of wanting, hoping, trying to get? Every inner conversation must be from the consciousness of already being what you want to be. If you catch yourself in an inner conversation that contradicts your desired state, stop immediately and revise it. Your inner talking reveals your true state of consciousness. These inner conversations during the 3 days are the threads that weave the fabric of your reality. When you talk to yourself from the state of fulfillment, when your inner dialogue consistently supports your new state, you are literally birthing your new reality into existence. Let me give you a specific technique for monitoring your inner conversations during these 3 days. Imagine you have a faithful friend who follows you everywhere, listening to every word you say to yourself. Would this friend be convinced of your new state by your inner dialogue? Would they hear the conversations of someone who has what you desire, or someone who is still seeking it? You see, your subconscious mind is that faithful friend recording every inner conversation, every assumption, every feeling state. During these 3 days, you must feed it only the conversations that support your new state. If you desire wealth, your inner conversations must be those of a wealthy person. If you desire health, your inner dialogue must be from the state of perfect health. Consider the words of Scripture. Let the weak say, I'm strong. This is not about affirmations. It's about a complete transformation of your inner talking. During these 3 days, you must not only say you are what you desire to be, you must think from that state in your most private moments. Here's a crucial point that many miss. Your inner conversations must feel natural. If you're assuming wealth, don't have inner conversations about spending millions if that feels unnatural to you. Instead, have natural conversations that imply financial freedom. Perhaps you're telling a friend how wonderful it feels to be debt-free, or how satisfying it is to be able to help others financially. During these 3 days, watch your reactions when you're alone. When you read the news, when you see others' success, when you face challenges, what is your inner conversation? Your reactions reveal your true state of consciousness. If you react from the old state, revise immediately. Remember, these 3 days are not about duration, but about intensity of conviction. When your inner conversations consistently match your desired state, when your reactions automatically spring from your new state, when your private thoughts align with your assumption, that's when you've truly occupied your new state. Maintaining consistency in your new state during these 3 days requires what I call mental chemistry. Just as a chemist maintains the purity of their compounds, you must maintain the purity of your consciousness. Any thought, any feeling, any inner conversation that contradicts your new state must be immediately transmuted. Consider this. If you were to put a drop of ink in a glass of clear water, the entire glass becomes tinted. Your consciousness works the same way. One negative thought, one doubtful inner conversation, one fearful assumption can taint your entire mental atmosphere. This is why vigilance during these 3 days is crucial. Let me share with you a secret about maintaining this consistency. It's not about forcing yourself to think positive thoughts. It's about understanding so completely that your imagination creates reality, that any thought contrary to your desire becomes impossible to entertain. Think about this. Do you have to force yourself to believe that 2 plus 2 equals 4? Of course not. You understand it so completely that doubting it would be absurd. This is how your faith in your imaginal act must be during these 3 days. Your understanding must be so complete that when someone asks about your problem, you genuinely have to think to remember what they're talking about. This is not pretense. This is the result of fully occupying your new state of consciousness. During these 3 days, you must guard the mood of fulfillment. Moods are the fabric out of which your future is cut. If you maintain the mood of having what you desire, if you sleep in this mood, if you walk in this mood, if you live in this mood, your outer world must reshape itself to match this inner atmosphere. Here's a vital point about these 3 days. You must learn to distinguish between thinking of your desire and thinking from its fulfillment. When you think of something, you maintain the separation between yourself and your desire. When you think from it, you have embodied it in consciousness. Thinking from the end during these 3 days means that every thought, every action, every decision must spring from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. This is not about pretending or acting. It's about completely inhabiting your new state. Let me explain this with absolute clarity. When you think from the end, you don't see your desire as something to be achieved in the future. You see it as an accomplished fact in the present. During these 3 days, there is no future tense in your consciousness regarding your desire. Consider how you think about your name. You don't hope to be your name. You don't affirm your name. You simply are your name. This is how natural your desired state must feel during these 3 days. You don't hope to be wealthy. You think, feel, and act from the consciousness of wealth. You don't anticipate perfect health. You think, feel, and act from the consciousness of perfect health. Here's a profound secret about these 3 days. They exist outside of time. In your imagination, where all creation takes place, there is no time. When you enter your imaginal scene, you enter a dimension where time does not exist. This is why your desire can manifest instantly when your consciousness is fully convinced. During these 3 days, you must learn to live in the end. Every morning when you wake, your first thoughts must be from the end. Every night when you sleep, your last thoughts must be from the end. Every moment in between must be lived from the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Let me share with you a technique I call living backward. Instead of seeing your desire as something to move toward, see it as something from which you are living. Just as you remember your past, remember your desire as something that has already happened. Feel the satisfaction, the completion, the naturalness of it being done. Your entire mental activity during these 3 days must be subordinated to your new assumption. Every thought that doesn't contribute to the naturalness of your new state must be dismissed, not by force, but by your understanding that it has no power except the power you give it. The mental discipline required during these 3 days is not about forcing yourself to think certain thoughts. It's about understanding the laws so completely that disciplined thinking becomes natural. When you truly grasp that consciousness is the only reality, controlling your thoughts becomes as natural as controlling your steps when you walk. Let me share with you what I call the mental diet for these 3 days. Just as you wouldn't eat food that you know would poison your body, you must not consume thoughts that would poison your assumption. Every mental meal, every inner conversation, every imaginative act must nourish your new state of consciousness. During these 3 days, you must be aware that your 5 senses are giving you reports based on your past assumptions. They will try to tell you that your new state is not true. This is where most people falter. They trust their senses more than their imagination. But remember, your senses can only show you what has been. Your imagination shows you what can be. Here's a crucial point about these 3 days. You must learn to distinguish between the voice of your old state and the voice of your new state. The old state will speak to you of limitations, of past failures, of reasons why your desire cannot be fulfilled. The new state speaks with quiet confidence, with the calm assurance of present possession. Consider how a wealthy person thinks about money. They don't constantly think about money, they simply know it's there. This is how you must be during these 3 days. Don't constantly think about your desire. Live from the quiet assumption that it is already yours. Your mental discipline must extend to your emotional reactions. During these 3 days, you must react to every situation from your new state of consciousness. If something happens that would normally upset you, you must react from the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. This is not suppressing emotions, it's choosing which state of consciousness will generate your emotions. Let me share with you a powerful technique for maintaining this discipline. Throughout these 3 days, ask yourself this question. If my desire were already fulfilled, how would I react to this situation? Then react that way. Not as an act, but as a natural expression of your new state. Emotional mastery during these 3 days is crucial because your emotional reactions reveal your true state of consciousness. It's not what you say or do that matters most. It's how you feel. Your feelings are the secret speaking voice of your assumptions. Here's a profound truth about emotional mastery. You don't need to create new emotions. You need to occupy the state produces the emotions you desire. During these 3 days, if you're truly living in the state of your wish fulfilled, the appropriate emotions will flow naturally. Consider this. When you've actually achieved something, you don't need to generate feelings of achievement. The feeling comes naturally from the state of having achieved. This is how your emotions should be during these 3 days. Natural, effortless, flowing from your assumed state. Let me share with you what I call the feeling tone of fulfillment. Every state has its own feeling tone, its own emotional frequency. During these 3 days, you must become so familiar with the feeling tone of your fulfilled desire that you can return to it instantly as you can recall a familiar melody. Your emotional life during these 3 days must be consistent with having your desire fulfilled. If you're assuming wealth, you can't feel the anxiety of lack. If you're assuming perfect health, you can't feel the fear of illness. Your emotional reactions must automatically spring from your new state. Here's a secret about emotional mastery. Emotions follow thought. During these 3 days, if you find yourself experiencing unwanted emotions, don't fight them. Instead, change the thought that's producing them. Change your inner conversation, and your emotions will change automatically. Remember, during these 3 days, you're not trying to create something new. You're stepping into a state where your desire is already fulfilled. The emotions appropriate to that state are already there, waiting for you to embody them. You don't need to manufacture them. You need to assume the state that naturally produces them. The feeling tone you must maintain during these 3 days is not one of excitement or anticipation. It's the calm, natural feeling of already being what you desire to be. This is a crucial distinction that many miss. They maintain the feeling of wanting their desire rather than the feeling of having it. Let me share with you the subtle but vital difference. When you genuinely have something, there's a quiet certainty about it. You don't walk around constantly thinking about having it. You simply know it's yours. This is the feeling tone you must capture and maintain during these 3 days. You think about how you feel about something you absolutely know to be true, like your name or where you live. There's no effort in maintaining that feeling of certainty. During these 3 days, your desired state must feel just as natural, just as effortless to maintain. Here's a profound secret about the feeling tone. It must be maintained even in your sleep. This is why your last thoughts before sleep are so crucial. During these 3 days, you must fall asleep in the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Your subconscious mind works throughout the night to make your dominant feeling tone your new reality. The feeling tone I'm speaking of is not superficial emotion. It's a deep, underlying sense of knowing. During these 3 days, if someone were to question your assumption, it should feel as absurd as someone questioning whether you are who you know yourself to be. Consider this. When you're healthy, you don't walk around constantly affirming health. You simply feel healthy naturally. When you're wealthy, you don't constantly think about being wealthy. You simply feel financially secure naturally. This is the kind of natural feeling tone you must maintain. Your feeling tone during these 3 days must be so consistent that it becomes your default state. When challenges arise, when circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, your feeling tone of fulfillment must remain undisturbed, like the depths of the ocean remaining calm despite surface storms. Maintaining undisturbed consciousness during these 3 days is your final and most important task. Like a deep lake that remains unmoved by surface winds, your consciousness must remain stable in your assumed state, regardless of external circumstances. Remember this final truth. These 3 days are not measured by the clock, by the depth and consistency of your consciousness. When you can maintain your new state without effort, when your feeling tone remains undisturbed by external events, when your inner conversations naturally flow from your fulfilled desire, then you have truly completed your 3 days. The law is your servant, but you must remain faithful to your assumption until it hardens into fact. Like Neville's story of Abdullah telling him you are in Barbados, you must persist until your desired state feels more real than any contrary evidence. Your 3 days are complete when you no longer have to remind yourself of your desire's fulfillment, when you simply are what you desire to be. At this point, manifestation is not just possible, it is inevitable. Let me leave you with this final wisdom. The power that you seek is already within you. These 3 days are not about creating something new. They are about awakening to what already is. Your desire is already fulfilled in consciousness. Your task is simply to occupy that state until it becomes your physical reality. Trust in the law, maintain your assumption, and watch as your world reshapes itself to match your new state of consciousness. For consciousness is the only reality, and what you are conscious of being, you must become. Thank you for your attention, and remember, the same power that created the universe lies within you, waiting to be acknowledged and expressed through your consciousness. Imagine for a moment that you are a vessel, a sacred chalice filled with the purest water of life. This water is your creative energy, your dreams, your deepest desires. Now picture yourself walking through a crowded street, this precious chalice in your hands. Would you not guard it carefully? Would you not be mindful of every step, lest a single drop spill and be lost forever? This, my dear friends, is the essence of what I'm about to share with you tonight. God wants you to be silent. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Almighty, the infinite creative power that resides within you desires your silence. But why, you might ask? Why would the Creator of all things, the source of every word ever spoken, wish for your silence? The answer lies in the very nature of creation itself. You see, creation is not a loud, boisterous act. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare and trumpets. No, true creation, the kind that shapes worlds and molds destinies, happens in the quiet depths of your imagination. It's in those silent moments when the world falls away and you're left alone with your thoughts that the seed of your desires takes root. Consider the words of the psalmist, "Be still and know that I am God." This is not merely a suggestion, but a profound instruction on the art of creation. In your stillness, in your silence, you allow the God within you to speak. And when God speaks, worlds come into being. But there's more to this silence than just allowing for divine communion. You have to be careful what you reveal to people. This isn't about being secretive or distrustful. No, it's about understanding the delicate nature of your creative power. You see, every word you speak, every desire you voice, every dream you share, these are all acts of creation. The moment you give voice to a thought, you're releasing it into the world. And once released, it begins to take on a life of its own. It interacts with the thoughts and energies of those around you. Sometimes this interaction can be beneficial, amplifying your desire and bringing it closer to manifestation. But other times, and this is crucial to understand, it can dilute your creative power. Think of it this way: when you plant a seed in the ground, do you immediately dig it up to show everyone? Of course not. You understand that the seed needs time in the darkness, protected from the elements, to germinate and grow strong. Your desires, your dreams, the seeds of creation, they need time in the fertile soil of your imagination, protected from the harsh lights of skepticism and doubt, to take root and grow strong. This is why God wants you to be silent. This silence is not a punishment or a restriction. It's a gift, a sacred space in which your creative power can flourish unimpeded. Now, you might be thinking, but how can I manifest my desires if I don't speak them into existence? This is a common misconception. You see, true manifestation doesn't happen through your words to others. It happens through your inner conversations, through the thoughts and feelings you cultivate within yourself. Remember the biblical principle: as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Notice it doesn't say, as a man speaketh with his mouth. The true creative power lies in your heart, in your deepest beliefs and feelings. This is where you need to focus your energy. When you understand this principle, you begin to see why you need to be careful what you reveal to people. Every time you speak of your desires to others, you're exposing these delicate seeds of creation to potential harm. Not everyone will understand your vision. Not everyone will support your dreams. And even those who do may inadvertently introduce doubt or limitation into your creative process. This doesn't mean you should never share your dreams or goals. There are times when sharing can be powerful and beneficial. But you must be discerning. You must learn to recognize when silence is the more powerful choice. Let me share with you a personal experience that illustrates this principle. Many years ago, when I first began to understand these truths, I had a deep desire to travel the world and share these teachings. But I was at the time a simple working man with limited means. The logical part of my mind told me this was impossible. The world around me seemed to confirm this limitation. But I understood the power of silence. Instead of speaking about my desire to others, seeking their approval or support, I took it into the silence of my imagination. Night after night, I would lie in my bed and imagine myself standing on stages around the world, sharing these truths with eager listeners. I felt the joy of it, the fulfillment, the sense of purpose. I didn't speak a word of this to anyone. I simply lived it in my imagination, knowing that what I was experiencing internally was more real than any external circumstance. And do you know what happened? Within a year, opportunities began to present themselves. Doors opened that I never could have anticipated. And before I knew it, I found myself traveling the world, just as I had imagined. The seed I had planted in silence had grown into a mighty tree. This, my friends, is the power of silence. This is why God wants you to be silent. In your silence, you're not denying your desires or suppressing your dreams. You're nurturing them, protecting them, allowing them to grow strong before exposing them to the world. Now, let's delve deeper into the concept of being careful what you reveal to people. This isn't about living in fear or constant suspicion. It's about understanding the nature of energy and influence. Every person you interact with carries their own energy, their own beliefs, their own limitations. When you share your dreams and desires with them, you're inviting their energy to mingle with yours. Sometimes this can be incredibly powerful. If you're sharing with someone who truly believes in you and your vision, their belief can amplify your own, accelerating your manifestation. But more often than not, people will project their own limitations onto your dreams. They might not do this maliciously. In fact, they might think they're being helpful, protecting you from disappointment or failure. But in reality, they're introducing doubt and limitation into your creative process. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. When Joseph shared his dreams with his brothers, their reaction was one of jealousy and disbelief. They couldn't see the divine promise in Joseph's visions. Instead, they saw only their own limitations and insecurities reflected back at them, and their reaction nearly derailed Joseph's destiny. This is why you must be careful what you reveal to people. Not everyone is ready to support the vastness of your vision. Not everyone can handle the magnitude of your dreams, and that's okay. It's not their job to believe in your dreams. It's yours. Your dreams, your desires, these are sacred communications between you and the God within you. They're not meant for casual conversation or idle chatter. They're meant to be nurtured in the quiet of your heart, in the stillness of your mind. Think of yourself as a pregnant woman carrying a precious life within her. In those early stages of pregnancy, when the life is just beginning to form, the wise woman is careful about who she tells. She understands the delicate nature of new life. She knows that not everyone will understand or appreciate the miracle growing within her, so she keeps it to herself, nurturing it in silence, protecting it from harmful energies or negative influences. Your dreams are like that unborn child. They're delicate, precious, full of potential. They need your protection, your nurturing, your unwavering belief. And in the early stages, they often need your silence. But let me be clear, this silence is not about deception or secrecy. It's about discernment. It's about understanding the appropriate time and place for sharing. It's about recognizing that not every thought needs to be voiced. Not every desire needs to be announced to the world. In fact, there's incredible power in keeping your dreams to yourself. When you don't reveal your plans to others, you're free from their expectations, their doubts, their limitations. You're able to move in silence to work on your dreams without the pressure of external validation or criticism. Think of the mighty oak tree. It doesn't announce its intentions to grow tall and strong. It doesn't seek permission or validation from the flowers and shrubs around it. It simply grows silently and steadily, reaching for the sky with unwavering determination. You are that oak tree. Your dreams are your branches reaching for the heavens. And the silence? The silence is your roots growing deep and strong, anchoring you firmly in the soil of faith and conviction. Now you might be wondering, but what about the power of positive affirmations? Haven't we been taught to speak our desires into existence? This is a valid question, and it brings us to an important distinction. There is indeed power in the spoken word, but the most powerful words are not those you speak to others. They're the words you speak to yourself in the privacy of your own mind and heart. These are your true affirmations. These are the words that shape your reality. When you understand this, you begin to see why God wants you to be silent. It's not about suppressing your voice. It's about redirecting it inward to where your true creative power resides. Instead of telling others about your dreams, tell yourself. Instead of seeking external validation, give yourself the approval and encouragement you need. Create an inner dialogue that supports and uplifts you. This is the true power of affirmation. Remember the words of Jesus, but when you pray, go into your room, close the door and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. This isn't just about prayer in the traditional sense. It's about all forms of communion with the divine within you. It's about those moments when you align your thoughts and feelings with your deepest desires. Your room is your consciousness. The closed door is your ability to shut out the noise and opinions of the outside world. And the unseen Father is the creative power within you, the God that resides in the depths of your being. When you learn to commune with this power in silence, when you learn to nurture your dreams in the quiet of your own consciousness, you tap into a wellspring of creative energy that is truly limitless. But this requires discipline. It requires the strength to hold your tongue when others ask about your plans. It requires the wisdom to discern when to speak and when to remain silent. It requires the faith to trust in the unsayers of creation, even when the outside world demands evidence and proof. This discipline, this silence is not always easy. We live in a world that values constant communication, that encourages us to share every thought and feeling. Social media platforms tempt us to broadcast our every move, our every aspiration. But remember, not everything needs to be shared. Not every thought needs to be tweeted. Not every dream needs to be posted on Instagram. In fact, the most powerful transformations often happen in silence. Think of the caterpillar in its cocoon. If it were to break open the cocoon prematurely to show the world its progress, it would never become a butterfly. The transformation requires darkness, silence, and patience. Your dreams are undergoing a similar transformation. In the silence of your imagination, they're taking shape, growing stronger, preparing to burst forth into reality. But this process cannot be rushed. It cannot be exposed prematurely in the harsh light of public scrutiny. So how do you navigate this? How do you maintain this powerful silence In a world that constantly demands your voice, here are a few practical tips. First, cultivate a rich inner life. Spend time each day in quiet contemplation, exploring the landscape of your imagination. This is where your true creative work happens. This is where you plant the seeds of your future reality. Second, practice discernment in your speech. Before you speak about your dreams or plans, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this beneficial? Will sharing this amplify my creative power, or will it dilute it? Learn to be comfortable with keeping things to yourself. Third, find alternative ways to process your thoughts and feelings. Instead of talking to others about your dreams, try journaling. Write down your aspirations, your plans, your progress. This allows you to externalize your thoughts without exposing them to potentially harmful influences. Fourth, surround yourself with like-minded individuals who understand the power of silence. These are people who won't constantly pry into your affairs, who respect your need for privacy and introspection. In their presence, you can be silent without feeling pressure to share. Fifth, when you do feel the need to share, be selective. Choose carefully who you confide in. Look for those rare individuals who can hold space for your dreams without imposing their own limitations or doubts. Sixth, learn to redirect conversations. When others ask about your plans or progress, practice the art of giving satisfying yet non-revealing answers. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your internal processes. And finally, trust in the process. Trust that your silence is not inaction, but the most potent form of creation. Trust that in your silence, you're communing with the infinite creative power of the universe. Remember, your silence is not emptiness. It's not a void. Your silence is pregnant with possibility. It's the fertile soil in which the seeds of your desires are taking root. It's the quiet incubator where your dreams are gestating, growing stronger day by day. In your silence, you're not doing nothing. You're doing the most important work of all. You're aligning your inner world with your desires. You're vibrating at the frequency of your dreams. You're becoming in consciousness what you wish to be in reality. This is the true meaning of the phrase, be still and know that I am God. In your stillness, in your silence, you're allowing the God within you, the infinite creative power of the universe, to work unimpeded. You're creating space for miracles to occur. And make no mistake, miracles are occurring. Every moment that you maintain this powerful silence, every moment that you nurture your dreams in the quiet of your imagination, you're setting in motion forces beyond your comprehension. You are activating universal laws that respond not to your words, but to the contents of your consciousness. This is why you must be careful what you reveal to people. Because what you hold in consciousness is far more powerful than what you speak with your lips. Your inner conversations, your deeply held beliefs, your unwavering faith, these are the true creators of your reality. So guard these inner conversations jealously. Protect them from doubt, from negativity, from the well-meaning but limiting beliefs of others. Your mind is the garden in which the flowers of your future are growing. Be selective about what and who you allow into this garden. Now I want to address a concern that might be arising in some of you. You might be thinking, but isn't this selfish? Shouldn't we share our blessing with others? This is a beautiful sentiment, and it comes from a place of generosity. But remember, you cannot give what you do not have. By nurturing your dreams in silence, by allowing them to grow strong before exposing them to the world, you're actually preparing yourself to be of greater service to others. You're ensuring that when you do step out into the world, when you do begin to share your gifts, you're doing so from a place of abundance and strength. Think of it this way. A tree doesn't bear fruit immediately. It takes time to grow strong, to develop deep roots, to reach towards the sky. Only when it has matured does it begin to produce fruit for others to enjoy. You are that tree. Your silence, your careful nurturing of your dreams, is your growing season. The time for bearing fruit, for sharing your abundance with the world, will come. But first you must grow strong. This is not selfishness. This is responsible stewardship of your gifts. This is honoring the divine creative power within you by giving it the space and silence it needs to work its miracles. And let me tell you something remarkable. As you practice this principle, as you learn to be silent and careful with what you reveal, you'll begin to notice a change in how you interact with the world. You'll find yourself becoming more observant, more intuitive. You'll start to recognize the power of silence in others. You'll develop a deeper appreciation for the unspoken, for the subtle energies that flow beneath the surface of everyday interactions. This heightened awareness will serve you well. It will help you navigate the world with greater wisdom and discernment. You'll become adept at recognizing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to wait. This is the true mastery that comes from understanding the power of silence. But perhaps most importantly, you'll discover a deep sense of peace. In a world that often feels chaotic and noisy, your ability to retreat into silence will become your greatest strength. It will be your sanctuary, your place of renewal and inspiration. In this silence, you'll find answers to questions you haven't even thought to ask. You'll uncover depths of creativity you never knew you possessed. You'll tap into reservoirs of strength and resilience that will astound you. In this sacred silence, you'll discover the true nature of your being. You'll realize that you are not separate from the creative power of the universe, but an integral part of it. Your thoughts, your feelings, your deepest desires, these are not just idle fancies, but the very substance of creation. By holding them in the quiet of your heart, by nurturing them in silence, you're allowing them to gather strength and momentum. As you practice this principle of silence and careful revelation, you'll begin to see changes in your external world. Opportunities will arise that align perfectly with your inner vision. People will enter your life who resonate with your unspoken dreams. Circumstances will arrange themselves in ways that support your growth and evolution. This is not coincidence or luck. It's the natural result of aligning your inner world with the creative power of the universe. Remember, your silence is not passivity. It's not resignation or defeat. Your silence is active, potent, filled with the energy of creation. In your silence, you're not doing nothing. You're doing everything. You're communing with the infinite, shaping reality at its most fundamental level. This is the true power that God wants you to understand and embody. So go forth from here with a new appreciation for the power of silence. Guard your dreams carefully. Nurture them in the quiet of your heart. Be discerning about what you reveal to others, understanding that your inner world is sacred and powerful. Trust in the process of silent creation, knowing that what you hold in consciousness will inevitably manifest in your reality. And finally, remember that this practice of silence and careful revelation is not just for your own benefit. As you master this principle, as you learn to create powerfully from the silence of your being, you become a beacon of possibility for others. Your life becomes a testament to the creative power that resides within all of us. In your silence, you speak volumes. In your careful stewardship of your dreams, you teach others the true nature of creation. This is your gift to the world, not just the fruits of your dreams, but the example of how those dreams are nurtured and brought to life. Consider the biblical phrase that has echoed through the ages, "I have been young, and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken." This eternal truth applies to all aspects of life, including our battle with fear. For what is fear but a belief in something that has not yet come to pass? It is living in anticipation of an unwanted experience. It is taking the wonderful creative power God gave you, your imagination, and using it against yourself. Let me tell you a story. A man came to me once who was terrified of public speaking. His fear was so great that at the mere thought of standing before an audience, his heart would race, his palms would sweat, and his mind would go blank. This fear had limited his career, his self-expression, and his joy. And do you know what I told him? I said, "My friend, your fear is nothing but a shadow. It appears substantial, but it has no reality except that which you give it." I instructed him to go home that night, and before falling asleep, to imagine himself standing before an audience, feeling completely at ease, speaking fluently, and connecting deeply with his listeners. I told him to feel the satisfaction of having delivered a wonderful talk, to hear the applause, to experience the confidence flowing through his body. Fall asleep, I said, in this state of accomplished desire. 3 weeks later, he returned to tell me that he had given a presentation at work without a trace of fear. The fear that had plagued him for decades was gone. Not suppressed, not managed, but completely absent. How? Because he had used the same power that created his fear, imagination, to uncreate it. This is the first great principle I wish to impress upon you tonight. Fear exists only in your imagination. It is not external to you. It is not thrust upon you by circumstance. It has no reality outside of the reality you give it. And since you created it through misused imagination, you can destroy it by properly directed imagination. Now I want to delve deeper into the nature of consciousness, for herein lies the key to destroying fear forever. Your consciousness, your awareness, your I am-ness is God. I am is the name of God as revealed to Moses. When you say I am, you are declaring the presence of God within you. And following this divine name, this I am, is your creative power unleashed. When you say I'm afraid, you are literally defining God within you as fear. You are taking the infinite creative power of the universe and directing it toward limitation. Can you see the absurdity of this? Can you see how you have been misusing the very power that was meant to set you free? The second principle I wish to impress upon you tonight is this: fear cannot exist in the consciousness of God. And since your fundamental consciousness, your I am, is God, fear cannot truly exist within you. It is foreign to your nature. It is an impostor claiming residence in the temple of your mind. Let me share another experience. A woman attended my lectures who suffered from a fear of heights so severe that she could not climb more than 3 steps on a ladder without feeling faint. After understanding these principles, she began to imagine herself standing at the top of a tall building, looking down with perfect calm and even enjoyment at the view below. Night after night, she would fall asleep to this imagery. Within 1 month, she found herself spontaneously volunteering to go to the observation deck of the Empire State Building with visiting friends. Not only did she experience no fear, but she actually enjoyed the experience so much that she pressed her face against the glass to see more of the city below. The fear that had limited her for over 30 years was gone completely. Now, some of you may be thinking, "But Neville, I have tried positive thinking before. I have tried to talk myself out of my fears and it doesn't work." And you are absolutely right. Mere positive thinking, mere affirmations repeated without feeling are useless. They are like seeds scattered on concrete. They find no soil in which to grow. Here is the third principle, and perhaps the most important. To destroy fear, you must enter a state of consciousness where the fear does not exist. You must actually experience in your imagination the freedom from that fear. You must feel it, taste it, live it in your mind's eye until it becomes more real to you than the fear itself. Remember the words, "Whatever you desire, believe to that you have received it, and you will." This is not a suggestion. It is spiritual law. If you wish to be free from fear, you must believe that you are already free. Not that free someday, not that freedom is coming to you, but that you are free now, in this moment. Let me explain how consciousness works. Your consciousness, your awareness exists on 2 levels. There is your objective, waking consciousness, the you that is listening to me now. And there is your subjective, deeper consciousness, what some would call the subconscious mind. This deeper level of consciousness accepts as real whatever is impressed upon it by your waking mind, especially when accompanied by feeling and repetition. Your subjective consciousness does not reason, does not argue, does not question. It simply accepts and then expresses what has been impressed upon him. This is why a person who deeply believes they will fail often does fail, and why a person who deeply believes they will succeed often does succeed. The subjective consciousness is bringing into manifestation what has been planted within it. Fear takes root in this subjective consciousness through negative imagination reinforced by feeling. Each time you imagine a fearful scenario and feel the emotion of fear, you are planting seeds that will grow into fearful experiences. The way to destroy fear, then, is to plant different seeds, seeds of courage, confidence, and calm. But, and this is crucial, you cannot plant these new seeds while simultaneously nurturing the old ones. You cannot imagine yourself free from fear while still entertaining fearful thoughts. This divided mind, this double-mindedness is the cause of failure in all human endeavors, not just in conquering fear. As it is written, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. You must make a clean break with fear. You must turn from it completely and give your whole attention to its opposite, to the state of fearlessness you wish to embody. Now, I can almost hear the questions forming in your minds. But Neville, what about real dangers? Shouldn't we fear things that can truly harm us? Let me address this directly. Prudence, caution, discernment, these are wisdom, not fear. You can acknowledge a potential danger without living in fear of it. You can take sensible precautions without being consumed by anxiety. Consider the driver who navigates a car safely through traffic. Is he successful because he is afraid of crashing? No. The fearful driver is often the dangerous driver, hesitant when he should be decisive, panicked when he should be calm. The good driver is alert but not afraid, aware but not anxious. He is present in the moment, responding appropriately to circumstances without projecting disasters that have not occurred. This brings me to the fourth principle. Fear is always about the future, never about the present. Fear projects your consciousness forward in time to an imagined moment that has not yet arrived, and in truth may never arrive. It takes you out of the only moment that is real, the eternal now, and places you in a phantom future of your own making. I want to share with you the words of the psalmist who wrote, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Notice the precision of this language. Even in the valley of the shadow of death, there is no fear. Why? Because thou art with me, God is with me. And who is God? I am. Your own awareness, your own consciousness, properly directed, is your salvation from fear. Let me tell you about a man I knew who had been imprisoned during the war. For 3 years, he lived in conditions of extreme deprivation and cruelty. Yet he told me that during this time, he would close his eyes each night and imagine himself walking free through his hometown, greeting friends, eating at his favorite restaurant, sleeping in his own bed. He would feel the reality of this experience so deeply that for those moments, he was no longer a prisoner. When liberation finally came, he adjusted to freedom more quickly than his fellow prisoners. Why? Because he had been living in freedom mentally all along. His imagination had kept him free, even when his body was in chains. This is the power you possess to transcend your circumstances through the proper use of your divine imagination. Now let us get very practical about destroying fear forever. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to identify your deepest fear. What is it that causes you the greatest anxiety? What situation makes your heart race and your mind spin with worry? Identify it clearly. Then I want you to construct a scene in your imagination that would imply your complete freedom from this fear. If you fear public speaking, see yourself giving a talk with complete ease and confidence. If you fear rejection, see yourself being warmly received and appreciated. If you fear lack, see yourself living in a state of abundance. As you lie in bed, close your eyes and enter the scene. Do not merely watch it as if it were a movie. Step into it as a participant. Feel it from the inside. What do you see? What do you hear? What are you touching? How does your body feel? If others are present in your scene, what are they saying to you? How are they responding to you? Experience this scene with all the richness of actual sensory experience. Then allow yourself to feel the emotion that would be yours if this were really happening now? Feel the relief, the joy, the confidence, the peace that comes with being free from your fear. Do this night after night until it begins to feel natural to you, until this fearless state becomes familiar territory to your consciousness. As you persist, you will find that your outward circumstances begin to reflect your inner experience. Opportunities will arise that allow you to demonstrate your new freedom. And when they do, you will discover to your amazement that the fear is simply not there anymore. This is not self-deception. This is the creative use of the powers God gave you. This is the art of revision, taking the script of your life and rewriting it according to your highest desires rather than your deepest fears. The fifth principle I want to share with you is this: fear cannot exist in the presence of love. Perfect love casts out fear, as the scripture tells us. But what does this mean in practical terms? Love is not merely an emotion. It is a state of consciousness. It is the awareness of oneness, of unity, of connection. When you truly love, you recognize that the other is not separate from you. And in this recognition, fear dissolves. For fear requires separation. Fear requires otherness, something outside of you that can threaten you. When you abide in the consciousness of love, you recognize that all is one. There is no out there to fear, because all is within your own magnificent consciousness. The entire universe exists within you as states of consciousness that you can enter and exit at will. This is why I tell you that to love God is to love your own consciousness, properly understood and properly directed. It is to recognize that the I am within you is the only power that is truly real, and that this power is fundamentally creative, not destructive. A friend once shared with me his experience of overcoming a lifelong fear of water. As a child, he had nearly drowned, and since that time, he could not so much as look at a swimming pool without experiencing terror. After learning these principles, he began to imagine himself swimming with joy and confidence. He would imagine the sensation of the water supporting his body, the pleasure of moving free through the water, the exhilaration of diving beneath the surface. For several weeks, nothing seemed to change. Then, one day, while walking in a park with a lake, he felt the sudden and unexpected urge to go swimming. Without hesitation, he removed his shoes and socks, rolled up his pants, and waded into the water. The fear that had controlled him for decades was simply gone. It had not been conquered. It had been replaced by a new state of consciousness in which fear of water had no place. This is the key. Not to fight against fear, not to resist it or struggle with it, but to replace it entirely with a new state of consciousness in which that particular fear cannot exist. The sixth principle I wish to impress upon you is that fear is always specific, never general. People who say I'm just a fearful person are deceiving themselves. No one is inherently fearful. Rather, each person has specific fears that have been cultivated through negative use of imagination. Identify your specific fears. Name them. Bring them into the light of consciousness. Then, one by one, create scenes that imply your freedom from each fear. Enter these scenes night after night until the fearless state becomes your dwelling place. Remember, whatever state you occupy mentally, you will express physically. If you occupy a state of fear in your imagination, you will express fear in your experience. If you occupy a state of fearlessness in your imagination, you will express fearlessness in your experience. This is law, not chance. Let me share with you a secret that few understand. The state of fearlessness already exists. It is not something you need to create. It is something you need to enter. All states of consciousness exist simultaneously in the mind of God, which is your own wonderful human imagination. Your task is not to create new states, but to shift your awareness from the states you do not desire to the states you do desire. Think of it as a great mansion with many rooms. The room called fear exists, and when you occupy it, you experience all the limitation and anxiety that comes with fear. But right next door is another room called fearlessness, and the door between these rooms is never locked. You can walk from one to the other at any moment by shifting the focus of your consciousness. Now, I know that some of you are sitting there thinking this sounds too simple. And you're right, it is simple. But that doesn't mean it's easy, at least not at first. The human mind has an extraordinary capacity for complicating what is fundamentally simple. We have been conditioned to believe that if something is powerful, it must be complex. But the greatest powers in the universe are the simplest. What could be simpler than gravity? Yet, it holds planets in their orbits and keeps your feet firmly on the ground. What could be simpler than love? Yet it has inspired the greatest works of art, literature, and music in human history. The simplicity of a principle does not diminish its power, it enhances it. So do not be deceived by the simplicity of what I am sharing with you tonight. The fact that destroying fear requires only a persistent shift in consciousness doesn't make this teaching any less profound or effective. The seventh principle, and we are coming to the end of our discussion now, is that fear is always coupled with time. It always involves projecting yourself forward into an imagined future moment where something unwanted occurs. The antidote to fear, therefore, is to live fully in the present moment while directing your imagination toward desired future states. Notice the subtle but crucial difference here. Both fear and desire involve the future, but fear imagines what you don't want, while desire imagines what you do want. Both use the same faculty, imagination, but directed in opposite ways. Living in the present moment frees you from the grip of fear, because fear cannot exist without time. When you are fully present, feeling the texture of the now, experiencing what is actually before you rather than what you imagine might be before you tomorrow, fear simply has no place to take root. This is why meditation, prayer, and all forms of spiritual practice that center you in the present moment are such powerful antidotes to fear. They return you to the only reality that truly exists, the eternal now, and in this eternity, fear is revealed as the illusion it always was. I want to conclude with a simple practice that will help you destroy fear forever. Each night before you sleep, and each morning when you awake, spend a few moments feeling deeply grateful for your freedom from fear. Do not merely say the words, "I am grateful to be free from fear." Actually feel the gratitude as if the freedom were already yours. Gratitude is the frequency of receiving. When you feel grateful for something, you are acknowledging that you have received it. And since your consciousness is creative, what you acknowledge as received must, by spiritual law, manifest experience. So feel grateful for your fearlessness. Feel grateful for your courage. Feel grateful for the perfect peace that dwells within you. Feel it so deeply that tears of joy come to your eyes. Let this gratitude permeate every cell of your body until you are vibrating with the certainty that fear has no power over you. As you practice this, you will find that fear begins to lose its grip on your life. Situations that once terrified you will leave you unmoved. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable will become opportunities for growth and self-expression. The world will not change, but your experience of the world will be transformed beyond recognition. And one day, perhaps soon, perhaps after many months of faithful practice, you will realize that fear no longer plays any role in your decisions, your relationships, or your self-concept. It will be as if a heavy weight has been lifted from your shoulders, a weight you had carried for so long that you had forgotten it was there. This freedom from fear is your birthright. It is the natural condition of a consciousness that knows itself as divine. It is what the great spiritual teachers have been pointing toward throughout the ages when they said, "Fear not, for I am with you." I am is with you. God is with you as your own consciousness, ready to be directed toward freedom, toward peace, toward the manifestation of your highest desires. Let me leave you with this thought: fear exists only because you give it existence through misused imagination. Withdraw your attention from fearful thoughts, and they will wither like plants deprived of water. Direct your attention instead toward the consciousness of fearlessness, and it will flourish like a garden in springtime. The choice is always yours. In every moment, you stand at the crossroads of fear and faith. One path leads to contraction, limitation, and suffering. The other leads to expansion, possibility, and joy. Your consciousness, your awareness, your I am is the deciding factor. Directed wisely, and fear will not merely be conquered, it will be destroyed forever. And now, as we come to the close of our discussion, I want to remind you that what I have shared with you tonight is not theory, but spiritual law. It has been tested and proven countless times by myself and by thousands of others who have applied these principles in their lives. The only requirement is that you test it for yourself, that you put it into practice with diligence and faith. For remember, faith is nothing more than the confidence that the unseen reality is more powerful than the seen. The unseen reality of your consciousness, properly directed, is infinitely more powerful than any external circumstance that seems to inspire fear. I urge you not to leave this room tonight and return to your old patterns of thought. Do not nod in agreement with what you've heard and then continue to live as if fear were an inevitable part of human existence. Take what has been shared here and apply it. Test it. Prove it in the laboratory of your own life. Begin tonight. As you lay your head on your pillow, identify your deepest fear. Then construct a scene in your imagination that implies your complete freedom from this fear. Enter that scene. Make it real. Feel it as if it were happening now. Fall asleep in this consciousness of fearlessness. Do this night after night. And watch as your life transforms before your eyes. The promise of Scripture is true. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Claim this promise as your own. Live from it. Let it inform every thought, word, and action. Let it be the foundation upon which you build a life of expanding joy, creativity, and fulfillment. For when fear is destroyed forever, what remains is the consciousness of God, infinite, eternal, and free. And in this consciousness, all things are possible to you. For the I am within you is the same I am that spoke the worlds into existence, that sustains the stars in their courses, and that beats your heart in this very moment. Go forth from this place tonight not as a fearful being hoping to become brave, but as a divine being remembering your inherent fearlessness. For that is what you truly are, a divine being having a human experience, possessed of all the powers of divinity, chief among them the power to create through directed consciousness. Use this power wisely, use it lovingly. Use it in service of your highest vision for yourself and for humanity. And as you do, you will discover that not only have you destroyed fear forever, but you have awakened to the truth of who you really are, the operant power of God in your world. God bless you all and thank you for your attention tonight. The seeds have been planted. Nurture them with your faithful imagination, and they will surely bear fruit in your experience. The freedom you seek is already yours. Claim it now and live from the glorious assumption that fear has no power over you, for the only power in your universe is the power of your consciousness aligned with truth. In every moment when fear seems to arise, remind yourself, this is only imagination misused. I withdraw my attention from this fear and place it instead on the truth of my being, whole, perfect, fearless, and free. Feel the relief that comes with this realization. Feel the peace that passes understanding flood your being. And know that in this consciousness, fear cannot exist. The work is done. The truth is established. The path is clear. Walk it with confidence, with joy, and with the unshakable knowledge that you are more than a conqueror. You are the divine creativity that spoke the worlds into being, now speaking a new world of fearlessness into your own experience. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your fearlessness and be inspired to claim their own. For in truth, what I have shared with you tonight is not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of all whose lives you touch. As you live from the consciousness of fearlessness, you become a living demonstration of what is possible for every human being who chooses to direct their imagination toward freedom rather than limitation. The world needs this demonstration now more than ever. In an age of increasing uncertainty and apparent chaos, the one who walks without fear becomes a beacon of hope, a testament to the truth that circumstances do not determine consciousness. Consciousness determines circumstances. Be that beacon, be that testament. Live as if fear had never existed and never could exist in your world. For in the reality of God, which is the reality of your own divine imagination properly understood, it does not and cannot exist. Only love is real. Only freedom is real. Only the infinite creative power of your consciousness is real. All else, including fear, is shadow, is illusion, is a misuse of the divine gift of imagination. Correct the misuse and the shadow vanishes as darkness always vanishes in the presence of light. You are that light. Shine forth in the full confidence of your divine nature, and fear will be destroyed forever, not just in your life, but in the lives of all who are blessed to know you. The time for fear is over. The age of faith, of confident trust in the creative power of your consciousness is at hand. Enter it now with joy and gratitude, knowing that what awaits you is far greater than anything fear has ever stolen from you. For eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him. Those who love their own divine consciousness enough to direct it toward the fulfillment of their highest desires rather than the manifestation of their deepest fears. This is your heritage. Claim it now. Live from it now. And watch as the miracle of fearless living unfolds in ways you cannot now imagine, but will soon experience as the only reality you know. Thank you, and God bless you all.